Fancy buildings. Yeah.
Want to learn how to build these too? Here's how you can. So, bit of honesty, I've only completed about 4 mega builds, so take my advice with a spoonful of salt. But you're still here, and I'm here to tell you about them. So anyway, this is part 1 of 3 on a series about how to build a mega build. And in this episode, we look at the major aspects of a mega build and how to build one. In the next part, we'll talk about how to begin a mega build, but this talks more about the important aspects. Mega builds are a lot more simple than you might think. You can look at them and they seem incredibly daunting, but when you break it down into separate parts, it's surprisingly simple. First, what actually makes a mega build mega? Personally, I really don't think there are specific qualifications. Some people are really strict about what makes a real mega build, but for me, it's just based on effort. If a build isn't necessarily massive, like multiple fireworks to get across, but the block you use to make it is hard to get, mega. A build made entirely out of obsidian, mega. The library, somewhat mega, because I, for some stupid reason, refused to craft bookshelves and only traded for them. Therefore, more effort, therefore it's mega build. When effort goes over the top, it's mega. Now, materials and the idea, which really go hand in hand. It's Minecraft, do what you want. Gathering ideas and inspiration can come from anywhere and can be made of whatever you want. I like to gather ideas from video games and TV shows I'm into, but my personal favorite way to get inspired is Pinterest. For me, I love finding random images on Pinterest and putting it into Minecraft. The idea usually shifts and never really looks like the original, but it's a great place to start. Third, the glaze. Okay, hear me out. Potters add glaze and builders add shaders. When I build in general, but mega builds especially, I think it's very important to consider what the build will look like with shaders. It adds an extra layer of drama and emotion. When you build, consider light and lack thereof. Glass to add reflections, concrete for extra solid colors, water for more shine, things like that. Not just because that's a piece of the build, but because it adds drama and effect. And the fourth aspect is time. Obviously. The biggest thing that kills people's ideas and motivation is how long it takes. And I really have no way around that. No one does. If it's in creative, you have some options, but it still takes a while. Survival's even worse. You're stuck spending hours and hours gathering endless materials, and then you have to go and place it all, and it's still not enough. Regardless, time will kill your project if you let it. The key is to spread out your efforts. If you start spending all your energy and time into your build right off the bat, you'll have a much harder time in the long run. You will run out of steam very quickly. So, with the basics covered, let's look at some types of mega builds. The most common that I've seen are number 1, castles and cities, number 2, what I call superstructures, and biomes. So let's start with castles and cities. These are by far the most common type of mega build. Castles are very clearly build oriented as opposed to biomes. These are meant to feel busy and bright, depending on your subject and design, of course. Lighting with these is a significant challenge, especially if you want spawn proofing. There's a lot of little things to light up. So for example, let's take a look at this build by Mr. Modro 12. I don't know if that's how you say that. Probably said it wrong. This is City of Angels, and it's a pretty good example about details and lighting. Light is everywhere it needs to be and where it doesn't need to be. The fire glows and the castle windows are lit up, but the rest is realistically unlit. If we want this to be an accurate city, the rest kind of isn't like covered in torches. Say we were to turn this build into something more fantasy. Added glowing to the bottoms of the waterfalls, floating bits and bobs, like the unlit areas, make everything feel magical and colorful. Whereas if you wanted to make it feel more evil, you take out that light and make it feel darker. Modern cities are another deal, mainly based around squares and solid colors, whereas older castles and cities are round, softer looking and well textured. Things like medieval type vibes. Those are usually very textured types of builds. Next, what I call superstructures. So what I mean by this is giant singular buildings. So far, almost all of my mega builds are superstructures. The monument, superstructure. The library, superstructure and biome a little bit. The door, superstructure and biome. The mausoleum, superstructure. These are all builds that are one singular object that are overly large. So this can be temples, museums, monuments, giant taverns, things like that. Giant trees technically count as one as well. Giant sculptures, things like that. One singular large object. And these are very dependent on your reference. There's not really a specific rule to follow for these because it really just depends on what you're trying to build. The biggest thing to remember is if you're playing in survival, you need to place torches or you're gonna have a little bit of a moment like this. Safe to leave now. Biomes. Biomes, in my very unprofessional opinion, are based around emotion. Typically, there's not really a centerpiece or one major point of interest unless you put one. Instead, biomes are specific to atmosphere. They focus more on lighting than any other type of build. So if you're going for a light or fantasy type style, light the underneath of subjects like trees or mushrooms to make them feel floaty. Sort of like these. For beaches and ruins, that type of thing, little random and scattered bits work really well. Think driftwood, broken buildings, half-buried logs, things that realistically indicate age. Darker biomes equal less light, happier equals more more light in color. When you're building in survival, spawn proofing is an absolute must. You'll hate yourself after the first few creeper explosions and sniper skeleton shots. Glass works really well as a spawn proofing method for darker builds. Slabs, glow lichen, those are all very good options to stop spawning while keeping minimal light. Y'all should be proud of me. I built mini biomes for this video. From there, it's really up to you. It's Minecraft, the purest form of sandbox. A lot of times people find that they get the blank white canvas paralysis effect, where they kind of just stare at the ground and don't know what to do. And for that, the best thing to do is to just build, which I know was not very helpful to say. The difference between painting and Minecraft is you can undo Minecraft. If you decide that you don't like something, it is perfectly acceptable to erase it. Starting over entirely is completely fine. The other thing is too, mods can be helpful. Again, this is Minecraft. There is no way to cheat. The only way that you can cheat in Minecraft is to say you didn't use something when you actually did use something. So if you want to use Lightmatica, if you want to use World Edit, nobody cares. Just do the thing. But anyway, that's all I really have to cover on the basics of Megabuilds, and next time we're gonna talk a little bit about how to start your Megabuild. In that video, we're just gonna go over how I like to build things, but your system may be a little bit. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like and subscribe. It takes 2 seconds and it really helps me out. But anyways, happy building, and I'll see you next time.